Melly Mel, granted $7,500 bail after 2-week detention by IC over visa overstay. Newsroom, Melissa Atwell-Holder, known as Melly Mel, appeared in court today and has been granted bail following her arrest by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, IC, 2 weeks ago. Atwell-Holder appeared before Judge Mwangi Francis for a master hearing on Friday, securing a bond in the amount of $7,500. She will be released from detention once the bond is posted. Wearing a brown jumpsuit and holding a book, Melly Mel was visibly shaking her head throughout the proceedings. Her attorney, Joyce Booth, clarified to the court that Atwell-Holder's case pertains solely to an immigration matter related to her overstaying her visa in the United States and is not connected to her political activism. According to Booth, Atwell-Holder entered the U.S. in 2022 and married U.S. citizen Paul Holder in 2023. The couple has been living together in Brooklyn, New York, for the past 2 years. Booth emphasized that her client has no criminal history, is not considered a threat, and is not a flight risk. This is a regular case of overstaying, Booth stated, requesting that a reasonable bond be set. Background checks revealed no criminal history for Atwell-Holder, as confirmed by the department to the court, supporting Booth's assertions. The 38-year-old activist entered the U.S. on a visa and has been awaiting approval for a pending adjustment of status with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, since 2023. Atwell-Holder's I-130 petition has been approved, while her I-485 adjustment of status application remains pending. During the hearing, the judge questioned the circumstances of Atwell-Holder's marriage to a U.S. citizen, which could typically make her eligible for a waiver. However, her overstayed visa has resulted in her being placed in removal proceedings. Despite the complexities surrounding her case, Booth insists this should be treated as a standard immigration issue. From my end, this is a regular case of overstaying with no other concerns, she affirmed. The bond hearing concluded with the decision to set the bond at $7,500. Once the bond is posted, Atwell-Holder will be released from the Richwood Correctional Center in Monroe, Louisiana, where she has been held since her arrest. Vismar resident remanded for assaulting wife. Guyana Times. Kester Johnson, a 26-year-old construction worker from Vismar, Linden, has been charged with assaulting his wife, Saudia Bob, on March 23, 2025. During an arraignment before Linden Magistrate Rochelle Liverpool on Thursday, March 27, Johnson pleaded not guilty to the assault charge, which is contrary to Section 21 of the Summary Jurisdiction, Offenses, Act, Chapter 802. He was subsequently remanded to prison. The case has been adjourned until April 23, 2025, for trial. Johnson had previously been arrested for child abuse after a disturbing video circulated on social media, depicting the abuse of his 1-year-old daughter. Investigations into this incident have been completed, and a police file will soon be submitted for legal advice from the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. Relatives dispute police report on drowning of toddler boy. Newsroom. Relatives of 2-year-old Tauren McLennan are disputing the police report regarding the tragic circumstances of his drowning in the Burbus River at Kwakwani on Wednesday. According to the police report, the child's mother, Tamika Joaquin, 39, stated that Tauren went to the river shortly after 1500 hours to take a bath and subsequently disappeared. Following his disappearance, the matter was reported, and a search was initiated. 2 hours later, Tauren's body was discovered floating in the river. He was transported to the Kwakwani Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. However, a relative has claimed that Joaquin did not speak with the police until Thursday morning, asserting that she was in no condition to communicate with law enforcement or anyone else after her son's body was found. It is not a case where she left her child or sent him to the river to bathe. Nothing like that happened, the relative explained. I can assure you that Auntie Tamika did not give any report to the police until this morning, Thursday. The police cannot say she made those statements when they never spoke to her. The young child lived close to the river. Joaquin operates a shop in the same yard, and just before his disappearance, Tauren was playing outside. He went outside to play in the yard and then crossed the road to play with his cousin. Right behind the house is the river, the relative detailed. Joaquin checked on Tauren and saw him playing in the sand. When she looked for him a second time, he was nowhere to be found. His body was recovered 2 hours later downstream after search efforts were made by family members and local residents. We took Tauren to the hospital, and the doctors and nurses tried to help him, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead shortly after, the distraught resident told the newsroom. Since the tragic news emerged, the family has expressed dissatisfaction with hateful comments online, which they say have only exacerbated their pain. This is causing more anguish for the mother. Right now, she is in the hospital. It is heart-wrenching to see all of this, the relative said. The young boy was described as jovial and full of life. He was full of energy, always playing, the relative added. Notorious, wanted person, Vishal Anag arrested. Just yesterday, his mother and brother were charged for attempting to bribe police with $1.7 million. Vishal Anag, also known as Gon, a 30-year-old unemployed resident of Adventure, Essequibo Coast, who is wanted by the police for a series of offenses including break and enter and larceny, burglary, and simple larceny, was finally captured by police today. At approximately 8:10 hours today, Friday, police ranks from Regional Division No. 2 acted on information received and proceeded to the Spring Garden Public Road, Essequibo Coast, in 2 unmarked vehicles. Upon arrival, they spotted Vishal Anag with a strap bag on his shoulder and a cutlass in hand, heading south on the eastern side of the public road. As the vehicles approached him, he ran east into a yard and then further east along the sea dam. Consequently, the police disembarked and gave chase, commanding him to stop and surrender. Although he halted as the police approached, he swung the cutlass at them, prompting the ranks to fire several rounds in his direction, which struck his thigh, hand, and abdomen. Despite his injuries, he continued to advance toward the officers with the cutlass but eventually fell to the ground. Anag was picked up by the officers and taken to Suddy Public Hospital, where he was treated by a doctor and admitted in stable condition. The cutlass and strap bag were confiscated by the police. Upon inspecting the bag, the police found $242,750 in cash, Guyana currency. G-Shock wristwatch. 3 packs of Dunhill cigarettes. A quantity of Digicel and GTT phone cards valued at $30,000. The cutlass was also retrieved and lodged at the Aurora Police Station. Vishal Anag was wanted in Regional Police Division No. 2 for the following offenses. Break and enter and larceny committed on Irving Rambarak, $200,000 cash, which occurred on Sunday, January 19, 2025, at Lot 12 Adventure, Essequibo Coast. Break and enter and larceny committed on Minesh Chaubey, 1 laptop computer valued at $300,000 and 1 electronic tablet valued at $100,000, which occurred between January 28 and 29, 2025, at Lot 29 Adventure Backstreet, Essequibo Coast. Break and enter and larceny committed on Krishna Nareen, 1 gold ring valued at $80,000 and $20,000 cash, which occurred on February 5, 2025, at Lot 11 Adventure Sand Top, Essequibo Coast. Break and enter and larceny committed on Farina Calendar, $100,000 cash, which occurred on February 8, 2025, at Adventure Backstreet, Essequibo Coast. Break and enter and larceny committed on the dwelling house of Pumeshwari Bipat, which occurred between February 3 and 4, 2025, at Adventure, Essequibo Coast. Break and enter and larceny committed on Mr. Indar, $150,000 cash, 1 Bluetooth speaker valued at $25,000, and 1 blue cell phone valued at $5,000, which occurred on February 24, 2025, at Middlesex, Essequibo Coast. Simple larceny committed on Minesh Dial and his wife Lachmi Law, $200,000 cash and 1 gold chain valued at $250,000, which occurred on February 8, 2025, at Adventure, Essequibo Coast. Simple larceny committed on Dudnath Singh, 1 laptop computer valued at $130,000, which occurred between February 3 and 4, 2025, at Adventure Sand Top, Essequibo Coast. Simple larceny committed on Floyd Jilks, 1 motorcycle valued at $600,000, which occurred on February 12, 2025, at Cullen, Essequibo Coast. Burglary committed on Leroy Jordy, $500,000 cash, which occurred between March 18 and 19, 2025, at Lot 19 Adventure, Essequibo Coast. Break and enter and larceny committed on the shop owned by Devin Warner, $1,134,780, which occurred on March 28, 2025, at Supinum Waterfront, Essequibo Coast. Break and enter and larceny committed on Judy Wilson, 2 wristwatches valued at $120,000, which occurred today, March 28, 2025, at Supinum. Mon Repos man charged with attempted murder, remanded to prison. Kevin Mohammed, known as Pumpkin, a 29-year-old self-employed resident of Mon Repos, East Coast Demerara, was arrested on March 23, 2025, and charged today, March 27, 2025, by officers from the Beterverwagding police station with the offense of attempted murder. The charge was filed under Section 104 of the Criminal Law, Offenses, Act, Chapter 801. Mohammed is accused of attempting to murder a 33-year-old male laborer from Good Hope, ECD, during an incident that took place on March 4, 2025, at Triumph, ECD. Today, Mohammed appeared before Magistrate Abigail Gibbs at Sparendam Magistrates Court No. 2, where the charge was read to him. He was not required to enter a plea and has been remanded to prison until May 7, 2025. 23-year-old Annandale resident charged with simple larceny. Rashid Mohammed, a 23-year-old construction worker from Annandale Sand Reef, East Coast Demerara, was arrested and charged today by ranks from the Vigilance Police Station with the offense of simple larceny, contrary to Section 164 of the Criminal Law, Offenses, Act, Chapter 801. He is accused of stealing items valued at $98,800 from Sherwin Sancho during an incident that occurred between March 23 and 24, 2025, at Lusignan, East Coast Demerara. Today, at approximately 10:45 a.m., the accused appeared at the Vigilance Magistrates Court before Magistrate Sunil Scarce, where the charge was read to him. He pleaded not guilty and was remanded to prison. The matter was adjourned to April 29, 2025, for the submission of statements. Additionally, Rashid Mohammed faces another charge of simple larceny for alleged theft of items valued at $45,000 from Michael John, also occurring between March 23 and 24, 2025, at Lusignan, East Coast Demerara. He appeared before Magistrate Sunil Scarce, where this charge was likewise read to him. He pleaded not guilty and was remanded to prison. This matter was also adjourned until April 29, 2025. Jagdeo condemns all forms of violence, including political violence. General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, PPP, Bharat Jagdeo, condemned all forms of violence on Thursday, emphasizing that peaceful protest and freedom of speech must be respected and preserved. During a press briefing at his party's Freedom House office in Georgetown, Jagdeo stated, "We condemn violence in all its forms, political violence or any other type of violence. There should be no violence in the way we conduct our business." He continued, "People are free to express their opinions and to protest, but there must be no violence." Drug bust: 27.2 kilograms of marijuana found in car trunk. 3 persons in police custody. Excellent work by police ranks in Regional Division 4B has led to the discovery of 27.2 kilograms of cannabis and the arrest of 3 individuals at approximately 2300 hours last night, March 27, 2025. The police were on duty along the Soesdijk-Linden Highway near Horani Village when they stopped a white Toyota Axio motor car, #PAJ4254, that was headed west along the highway. The lone occupant of the car was the driver, Kerwin Dos Santos, a 32-year-old resident of Freeman Street, La Penitence, Georgetown. While engaging the driver, officers observed another white Toyota Allion motor car, #PH2633, that was also traveling west, stopped about 200 yards behind the Axio vehicle, PAJ4254. The Allion was being driven by Akita Gordon, a 34-year-old housewife from Virginogan, East Bank, Essequibo, accompanied by one occupant, Kareem Gordon, a 27-year-old resident of Middle Road, La Penitence. Kerwin Dos Santos was asked if the 2 cars were traveling together, to which he responded affirmatively. The officers then approached the second vehicle and requested to search it, and the female driver complied. Upon opening the car trunk, officers discovered 3 large bulky plastic parcels containing a quantity of leaves, seeds, and stems suspected to be cannabis. The drivers of both vehicles, as well as the passenger, were informed of the offense, cautioned, and arrested. Police took possession of the suspected narcotics, which when weighed, totaled 27.2 kilograms. Akita Gordon, Kareem Gordon, and Kerwin Dos Santos have all been placed in custody pending further investigations. Jagdeo says Mohammed's aligned with AFC. Newsroom. General Secretary of the ruling People's Progressive Party, PPP, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, on Thursday highlighted the connections between the Alliance for Change, AFC, and local businessman Azruddin Mohammed and his father, Nazar Mohammed. He asserted that the public will not be misled again by the AFC, regardless of the new faces they present in a bid to regain political power. Speaking at a news conference at his party's Freedom House headquarters in Georgetown, Jagdeo pointed out the close ties between the Mohammeds and the AFC leadership, specifically referencing a meeting involving Azruddin Mohammed, prominent AFC lawyer Nigel Hughes, and AFC General Secretary Raphael Trotman. They know that Azruddin and his father met with Nigel Hughes, who then brought the political leader of their party, Trotman, into the meeting to provide legal advice, which Trotman documented, Jagdeo stated. He asserted that shortly afterward, individuals associated with the AFC began to collaborate closely with Azruddin Mohammed. Immediately following this meeting, all the AFC candidates and their past associates started working with Azruddin. This is just another ploy to deceive the people, Jagdeo emphasized. He noted that prominent supporters of the AFC have consistently shared content from Azruddin Mohammed's Facebook page. Jagdeo warned that the public will not be swayed by the empty promises of the AFC, recalling how they campaigned on improving salaries and working conditions only to close down sugar estates, leaving people without money for food and causing students to drop out of school. The Mohammed family came under international scrutiny last year when the U.S. government imposed sanctions citing allegations of corruption and involvement in illicit activities. In response, Guyanese authorities have committed to addressing corruption concerns. The Cambio licenses of the Mohammeds were revoked, as were the licenses for vessels they used for shipping. Triggered by a Facebook post, the Guyana Revenue Authority, GRA, has also acted against the Mohammeds, alleging that they either undervalued luxury vehicles to significantly reduce their tax liabilities or falsely claimed to be remigrants to evade duties. Norton calls on government to accept responsibility for poorly constructed, friends and family roads in Guyana. By news source Guyana, leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, has harshly criticized the government over the substandard conditions of roads in the country and called for accountability. Norton's statement follows remarks made by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who expressed his concerns about the poor state of a road he traveled during his visit to Guyana on Thursday while in Suriname. "We almost all had concussions because the road was so bad. It was terrible. They paid these people to build this road, and then they bring their own workers. They don't hire local labor, they bring their workers in to do all the work. Or they want you to borrow a bunch of money and then hold it over your head. They would have been better off with a dirt road than the one we were just on," Rubio complained. At a press conference today, while singling out the Heroes Highway, Norton reminded attendees that the 4-lane road was constructed just over 3 years ago. He claimed that contracts for the road were awarded to individuals closely aligned with the governing party and asserted that the PPP must take responsibility for its actions. The Heroes Highway was constructed by 12 contractors who are favorites of the PPP regime, Norton stated. Records indicate that the contract for the construction of the road was awarded in 2021 to 12 contractors, including Guy America Construction Incorporated, Dulip Enterprise, JV, Colin Talbot Contracting Services, and Aaron Law Civil Engineering Works, among others. Norton agreed with the U.S. Secretary of State's assessment of the road's construction quality, adding that he has highlighted various defects during his previous budget presentations. In his presentation, he described the road as an abortion road, contending that it reflects corruption and incompetence. The government must take full responsibility for the construction disaster they call Heroes Highway and correct the misinformation that is in the public domain. The Secretary of State should be made aware that it's not the worst road the regime has built. The Schoonord to Crane Road is worse, Norton asserted. As of now, the government has not issued an official statement in response to the U.S. Secretary of State's comments regarding the roads in Guyana or the accountability of local contractors involved in their construction.